What's up, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down why Tesla saw a nice bounce today as buyers came back and Tesla held its key supports to rebound as we got some good news. I'm also going to talk about why tomorrow is going to be a crazy day as we have PPI data coming out, not to mention the possibility of Donald Trump announcing tariffs because we're seeing the White House saying that he will be doing it as soon as tomorrow. So let's talk about what's happening with the tariffs and everything in just a couple of minutes. First, I'm going to talk about the fact that I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30. And the offer ends very soon at the end of March. Anyways, so as far as Tesla is going, we saw a very, very nice rebound so far. There's many reasons why Tesla is rebounding. Number one, it dumped so hard without a bounce, so it was due for a bounce. Number two, we got some good news that came out. We're seeing benchmark analysts setting a price target of $475 for Tesla based off their earnings reports and an analysis of their previous earnings. The company is basically outlining a path for growth according to the report that it's going to have more affordable vehicles very, very soon. And they believe that the FSD paid service will be coming out, the unsupervised FSD, in June in Texas. So they're very bullish on that. We also saw the analysts talk about how the Optimus robot production is going to be ramping in 2026 and beyond. And they're very, very bullish on all of this. They think that this is a good buying opportunity, and they're very excited for what Tesla's about to do. So they're very bullish on Tesla. They're saying that they have a $475 price target. They mentioned that Tesla has so much upside potential because of Optimus and these other things. And based off their earnings beats in the past, I think Tesla's going to make a very strong comeback. They also think that Tesla's leadership is doing very, very well. Good management and diversified business activity give it a very, very good bullish target in their view. That is what the analysts from Benchmark has said. That's bullish news for Tesla. Now, that's the first reason why Tesla was pushing alongside technicals. Another reason why the market was pushing is because of this. So we got CPI and the market dipped initially, right? Tesla dumped to about 226, then it got a bounce. SPY also dumped to about 598, but then it bounced. So why did we get this bounce? What's going on? Let's talk about this. CPI, firstly, was not good. Okay, this is why the market got an initial dip. CPI month over month was at 0.4%, and year over year was at 3.3% on the core side. So this is core CPI. Those are the numbers I just named for core CPI. Everything was above expectations. So just keep that in mind. It was a hot report. And then for all items CPI, it was at 0.5% month over month and then 3% year over year. Everything was above expectations. Looking at the charts, there was an increase in all items CPI and then core CPI, showing signs that things are a bit more complicated for the Fed. This could incentivize them to keep rates higher for longer, which is not the best for the economy. So the market dumped. We saw SPY hit 598 only to get bought back up. We saw Tesla dump to 226 and just got bought back up from there. Why did Tesla get bought back up? Number one, there was good news. Number two, it was technicals. And number three, the market got bought back up as a whole, which helped Tesla thanks to Jerome Powell. So Jerome Powell was speaking today in front of the U.S. House of Representatives. He insinuated the same narrative. He said that right now, the U.S. is not in a recession. There's most likely going to be a soft landing. He said that inflation is not a major problem and that although it's elevated, the Fed is continuing to make a lot of progress. He did continue to praise the work that's been done so far, and he is continuing to, say the same narrative that unemployment is not looking bad. The U.S. economy is very strong, and the U.S. absolutely loved this. We saw the market just push very, very nicely upon his words. This is part of why Tesla pumped as well alongside the markets. Jerome Powell is what really helped this. Now, what about for tomorrow? What's happening to Tesla in the market for tomorrow? Now I'm just going to focus on that, and then I'll talk about the charts. So tomorrow is going to be Thursday, February 13th, 2025. 1 hour before the stock market opens, we have the PPI data report coming out for all items and core. So get ready for this. We're expecting PPI month over month for all items to be at 0.2%. That's a slight decrease compared to before. We're expecting to be 0.3%. That's a slight increase compared to before. Sorry, guys, I think I read that wrong. That's all items PPI. We're expecting a slight increase. For core PPI month over month, we're expecting a slight increase as well. For core PPI year over year, we're expecting it to be about the same. And then for PPI, for basically all items, we're expecting a slight increase. So we're expecting inflation tomorrow to be the same, if not a slight increase for PPI. PPI is just like CPI, except on the wholesale producer side. So we'll see what this leads to for the markets. It's going to cause a very, very big move, whether we pump or if we dump. We'll see just to be safe. That's the first major catalyst, PPI data. Number two, we have another big catalyst, and that's going to be the one and only Donald Trump. He's going to be making some huge announcements, most likely, but we'll see just to be safe. So the whole tariff news, I know this is giving people lots of headaches because, one day he's saying it's going to be on Monday, he's going to make the announcements, then he's saying it's going to be on Tuesday. Let's go over a quick recap about the dates, and then I'll talk about what the White House just said, because the White House just said that they're going to be making the announcement tomorrow. So let's clarify this. What is going on? Let me start from the very beginning. So what first started off was Donald Trump last week. He said that he's going to be announcing these tariffs. He said he's going to do it this week on Monday or Tuesday. That's what Donald Trump said. For those out there who are criticizing me, just know this. I'm not trying to put these words in anyone's mouths. I'm not trying to lie about this. I'm simply just telling you what the reports are saying and what Donald Trump himself has been saying. Yes, plans could change. It happens. But if anything, we'll have to see if this ends up being the case for tomorrow. So again, Trump was saying he's going to be announcing reciprocal tariffs on Monday or Tuesday. That's what he said last week. He said he wants to create fairness. And when the prime minister of Japan was asked if they would retaliate, they basically said that they can't answer that yet. So Trump wants to do this on lots of different countries that are imposing duties on the US. He said that Monday or Tuesday would be the time. Then we come to basically what happened on Monday. So on Monday, they did announce 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. That's going to be affecting a lot for like Canada, Mexico, and Brazil, the top steel importers for the US. But then Trump also said on Monday he's going to be announcing reciprocal tariffs on Tuesday or Wednesday on countries that place tariffs on US goods. He said, and I quote, if they're charging us 130%, and if we're charging them nothing, then it's not going to stay that way for long. So Donald Trump was saying on Tuesday or Wednesday he's going to be making the announcements. So Tuesday came, Trump did not make the announcements, and then today is Wednesday. What happened today? Trump was supposed to make the announcement according to reports. We saw a lot of headlines saying that. That's why I give you guys a warning about this. His advisors even said that there's been a lot of progress that was made and he could be making the announcement as soon as today. He was supposed to, but he ended up not doing it so far. So Trump did not make the announcement yet about these new tariffs. However, this led to a lot of confusion because when Donald Trump spoke, he spoke today. Sorry, I have the headline right over here. All he said is that he wants interest rate cuts. He did not mention the tariffs in much detail. He said that this would be accompanied with his tariffs. He thinks this would be a lot better. Cutting interest rates in the US than increasing tariffs. That's what he wants to do. But that's all he said. He didn't really give us the update yet. So now people are confused. They're wondering, where are the tariffs? What is Donald Trump doing? He's been saying this for a while. So lots of reporters came to the White House press secretary. They asked her, what's happening with the tariffs? What's going to, go on from this point on? And she said, look, guys, I know you've been waiting, but she's saying that tomorrow should be the day. Tomorrow should be it. Donald Trump should be announcing the reciprocal tariffs. I actually have the quote from her right over here. Trump said that he wants to add tariffs on every country that imposes duties on the US. Okay. And then they also said that Donald Trump is going to be announcing his tariffs before he meets up with the Indian Prime Minister Modi on Thursday. So tomorrow, before he meets up with Modi, he could be announcing the tariffs. We have the actual quote from the press secretary right here. She said, and I quote, I do believe it will come before the Prime Minister's visit tomorrow. So now Donald Trump should be making the announcement tomorrow about the new tariffs. I know we've been waiting on this since like Sunday. We're waiting. Every day it gets delayed over and over again by one day. They keep saying tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. I understand that. And it's a little bit frustrating. I completely get it. But this is what the reports are telling us. It keeps getting delayed. So hopefully the press secretary is correct and she is right that Donald Trump's about to make the announcement tomorrow. Whatever he says could affect the US market, so we have to be prepared just to be safe. So why do I say this? Please note that for Mexico, Canada and China, they're the top trade partners of the US. That's why Donald Trump had prioritized them in his first trade plan when they increased the tariffs. Going into tomorrow, he might, if he truly does make the announcement. I don't want to come off as the boy who cried wolf because this is just what reports are saying. I'm just reporting them. But just know that tomorrow he should be making the announcements about the tariffs. This may be including the EU, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam, or even some other countries. I believe the EU will most likely be included. So many of these European countries like Germany, the UK, and the list goes on. And it's going to be affecting US trade. Also, keep in mind that the EU said that if Donald Trump increases tariffs on them, they're going to retaliate. They're going to increase tariffs back on the US, which is not the best of news. So keep that in mind, guys. This is very, very important. Okay. I know we've been waiting every day for this, and he hasn't done it yet. We're waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting. Hopefully, tomorrow is it. And if he does do this, this could cause a very, very big move. Now, keep in mind, we don't know the exact extent of the tariffs and what he is truly going to do yet. I don't know if it's going to include 2 countries, 5 countries, 10 countries tomorrow. How many countries is he going to be trying to impose this, tariffs on them? Right? We don't know yet. When is he going to make the announcement? Which countries is it going to be? I don't know. So the reaction of the market could be very nuanced. There's a possibility it may cause a rug pull, maybe if he's very aggressive. If he lists like 10 countries, 5 to 10 countries, and he increases tariffs by at least 10% or more, that could be a little aggressive. If it's 25% or something like that in some countries, that's going to be very aggressive. That could cause the market to dip a bit. So please be very careful if Trump makes this announcement. We'll see if he makes the announcement. So far, they're saying it's going to be tomorrow before he ends up meeting with the Indian Prime Minister. With that being said, for earnings, all we basically have are just a couple of them. For tomorrow, we have like Datadog and then John Deere and Crocs. We do have Sony announcing earnings, so get ready for that in the morning. And then after market close, we have Coinbase, DraftKings, Roku, and a bunch of others, so get ready for that. The fear and greed index is currently at neutral. The market still has more upside potential as a result. Momentum is at fear. And then we also have the put to call option ratio at neutral. So is the VIX. It is neutral thus far. So what do I think is going to happen tomorrow? What is my opinion about the markets? Please know we have 2 big catalysts. From a technical standpoint, Tesla's looking a bit more bullish. If we try to retest 340, which I think we will, if we break this, I think we could be pushing for essentially 351. So as long as we're above 340, look for a test of about 346, and then we're going to be going up to 351. So why is that? The 4-hour is looking a bit more bullish. The daily chart's trying to bounce. We have a gap to fill on the daily back up to about just under 351. So I think there's a good chance we try to push a little higher, at least from a technical basis. Now, whether or not that truly happens depends on some catalysts. So keep in mind, we have PPI data coming out in the morning. If we get a good report for Tesla, we easily go up to about 351. If the report is hot, if it's not a good PPI inflationary report, we're going to be at risk of dipping back down towards 330. If that fails us, we're dumping to about 325 or below all over again. So that's the bullish and the bearish case. Also, keep in mind that the bullish case is looking a bit more probable. It does look like Tesla wants to push a little bit more to 350. Could we reject from there? It's possible. For now, we're looking for a push. But then we have Trump's tariffs. So let's just put it this way. Whichever way the market goes, depending on the PPI report, if Donald Trump announces tariffs after that, even if Tesla pushes to like 350, that does not mean we're just going to blast off forever. There's still that risk of us coming back down if Donald Trump's tariffs are very aggressive. So you want to be careful. It depends on how aggressive Trump is going to be with these tariffs. The White House is saying tomorrow should be it. So we'll see if that's the day they make the announcement. And if we get the tariffs, that could also lead to additional downside. So keep that in mind, guys. Tesla will most likely try to rebound it to start things off, especially after PPI. I think we do favor that. But then Donald Trump's announcements could change things if he truly does it in the morning. So get ready. And even if we pump, we could be making a move back down, or we could be looking for a big move down, depending on what Trump says and the extent of these tariffs. So we'll see. We'll see how aggressive he wants to be, which many countries he announces. Will it just be like 2, or is it going to be like 10 of them? It depends. So keep all of this in mind. For SPY, we're trying to rebound here. So we got this dump with CPI. We rebounded thanks to the market pricing this in and a miniature short squeeze, and simultaneously Jerome Powell pumped the markets. We're looking bullish with the wick forming here, so we are technically favoring 605, and if that breaks, we could go higher for 608. Okay, so that's the really bullish case. If we break 605, I'm looking for 608 as our target. That's looking very probable, especially as we're testing this resistance and we're trying to break past this. Also, SPY is a low here at 598, bounced, came back down, made a higher low, and is trying to break out right now. So it looks bullish from a technical standpoint. If we're bearish, You want to see SPY reject after PPI. It needs to test maybe 605, then reject. And then we could be looking for a move back down to 600 or below if we get a hot PPI. Okay, PPI is another version of CPI. It's just for the wholesale side. And then, regardless of what happens, I just want to say that this is looking a bit more probable when it comes to technicals. A test of 605, if that breaks, we go to 608. And even if we do get some kind of pump, just keep in mind that, just to be very clear, there's a bullish and a bearish case. An additional factor is going to be Donald Trump. If Donald Trump comes out and he says he's going to be aggressive on tariffs, I can't promise that, but it's a possibility. He could still cause a rug pull. So even if we do pump to 608, we could still dump back down if Donald Trump is aggressive at tariffs and he announces it tomorrow. Okay, if he makes the announcement, be careful, guys. We could still make a move back down after a pump, or we could even just dump harder depending on what is said. So it all depends on what Donald Trump says as well. If he truly makes the announcement and PPI, the charts are favoring upside. I think 605 is going to be tested on SPY, maybe 608. We do favor the upwards direction, but then it depends on PPI and what happens with Trump's tariffs. So watch those very closely. On the QQQ, the same thing is going on. We are looking bullish. We are looking like we want to push higher. As long as we don't lose like 528, we are favoring a push for 533 to 535. That's the most likely possibility for the bulls. For the bears, if we get a hot PPI, you want to see us lose 528. If that fails us, we could be dipping to 524. Now, technically, this is looking more probable. Why? Because we had a low here. We came up, we made another equal low, and we bounced. So we're continuing to bounce. Even with a hot CPI, we're bouncing. And Jerome Powell pumped the markets. So we're looking bullish. When you zoom out all the way, we also have like an inverse head and shoulders like pattern. There's a left shoulder here, a head and then a right shoulder. So it looks bullish. The charts look bullish. They're looking bullish. They are favoring upside as the most likely possibility. But just to be safe, it's good to have this as a, hold on, give me 1 second, a hypothetical scenario. This is like our bearish case. So even if we get the pump, okay, that's awesome to see if the QQQ gets up to like 533 to 535. But then Donald Trump's tariffs are another factor. If Donald Trump is aggressive on tariffs, if he makes the announcement tomorrow, we could turn. We'll see about that. It depends on what he announces. And if if he's very aggressive, we could still see an additional move to the downside. It depends. So I'm not going to promise that. I'm just saying that if that's the case, you want to be very careful because every time he's announced tariffs, the market has dipped so far. So for example, if you look at the last couple of weeks, this was when he announced the Chinese, Canadian, and Mexican tariffs. When Mexico and Canada saw their tariffs delayed, the market recovered. Then we saw another dip when Trump announced he wants to announce tariffs again. He didn't give us the official numbers. He just said he wants to announce tariffs next week. That's what caused the market to dip. So the tariffs do tend to cause downside. So we'll see about that, but just keep that in mind. For the Russell 2000, we look bullish. It looks like this wants to easily go up to about 225 or above. Very close to the EMAs up here. This is like the more bullish case. And then the bearish case would be we get a hot PPI and we end up dipping. That's looking less likely. It's less likely we just dip straight up to like 220 from here. We favor upside. But then we'll see. Do we just keep going or does Donald Trump cause a rug pull with his tariff announcements? We'll have to see about that. Will we get an additional move to the downside? We'll see just to be safe. For others out there, we have ES, which is looking bullish right now. We have this trend line. So one thing I want to call out is that when you zoom out of ES, I was talking about this for a while, the fact that this has legs that it makes. So for example, we rejected here, we were making a channel, and then we broke past this resistance. We broke through the channel. That's the first leg up. This is the second leg. We formed another channel, made higher lows, and then we're trying to break out here. This is forming, right, the second breakout area. So watch this very, very closely. We'll see if we make a move like this or not. This is a little bit more probable looking at the trend, but this will depend on the tariff news and factors like that. So this is just based off technicals. We look bullish. If we manage to break past this resistance, we're going to 61.25 and eventually the 61.80s. So we'll see. We'll see if that ends up being the case. However, just let's make this very simple. If PPI is good, we get a good inflationary report. We're looking for 61.22 as our potential target. If the data is a little bit hot and we get a negative reaction, we could kind of like dip here and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. That's like the more bearish case, a retest of about 60.50. And then we have Trump's tariffs. So I don't know what they're going to cause, how aggressive he's going to be. If we get aggressive tariffs from Trump like he was threatening, we could be looking for a move right back down like this, right? A move right back down to 6,050 or below. A move back down from this would take us all the way down towards the low 6,000s. So that's what I'm seeing, guys. I hope this is as clear as possible. Excuse me. We're going to likely see a bullish and a bearish case. The bullish case looks a bit more probable, but Donald Trump's tariffs could change that. So we'll see how that ends up going. So please keep that in mind. It's going to be very important to pay attention. For NQ, we have a bullish case right here. We're looking for 22,000 as the main resistance. We'll have to see if we break through this or not. We do look bullish on NQ. It looks like it wants to go up to about 22,000 depending on our PPI report. And then the bearish cases, we're going to lose support right here at 2160. If we get a hot report and Trump dumps us, we could be looking for 2160 or 21,600. And if that fails us, we dump. Could go either way, but we favor upside is the most likely possibility. So just keep that in mind. Let's talk about crypto just real quick. We have Bitcoin. It looks like it wants to go up for about 99,000 as of right now, depending on PPI and factors like that. Technicals look bullish, but this depends on the tariff news and factors like that. Aggressive tariffs could still take us right back down, so keep that in mind. It all depends on what Trump announces and what the data looks like. For Nvda, okay, Nvda is looking decent. I think it's going to dip a little bit more. It's about 128, depending on inflationary numbers. If we get a small dip here, we'll see if we get some kind of bounce or not. But if we end up losing 129, we could be looking for a bigger dip depending on factors like this. But I do think what's going to happen is this. This is what technicals kind of suggest, a retest of our 50 EMA at 129 to 128. Maybe a bounce back up to 132. So this is what's looking very probable. But if Trump announces tariffs, it depends on if he mentions the countries that affect NVIDIA. So if he talks about Taiwan, Taiwan is actually one of the bigger trade partners of the US. 3% of our trade come from just Taiwan alone. If you consider how many countries the US trades with, that's still significant. And that's going to have a big effect on chips and semiconductors. So if the Trump administration mentions China or Taiwan, that could cause even more downside. We'll see about that just to be safe. For now, look for a test of 129 and a bounce is the most likely possibility, but we'll see what happens with tariffs and also the data coming out with PPI. Technically, Tesla looks a bit more bullish. It looks like it wants to get closer to the 350 area to fill that gap. But then we'll see if we get a rejection or not, depending on if Trump announces the tariffs. So please keep that in mind. For Aapl, we look bullish. We have a double bottom here. We're looking for an attempt to push higher for essentially 240. If we end up losing 235, we're looking for an attempt for 232. But this is looking bullish for 240. So watch to see if that ends up being the case. I think we're favoring an attempt to push up higher for that 240 target. So watch and see if that happens. If we get an aggressive amount of tariffs and we lose 232, we turn back down to essentially 226. But as of right now, Aapl is favoring a double bottom. We're kind of like dip like this, maybe like a triple bottom. I think that makes more sense. And a recovery move just like that as the most likely possibility. We'll see depending on the tariffs and factors just like that. With that being said, guys, that is it with my very, very specific analysis. I'm going to be very quick with the rest of these. Netflix looks like it wants to go up to about 1,040. If we break that, that's going to be awesome. We're going to be looking quite bullish, but whether or not that happens depends on a lot of different factors, such as PPI and tariffs. MSTR looks a bit more bullish. It's favoring 330, then eventually 336. So we'll see if we end up getting a decent PPI or not. We might try to push a little bit higher for 336. Celsius looks bearish. It's favoring a move back down to about 20.5. Right now, the bears have a bigger edge on this stock. For Supermicro, we have a bearish divergence. It's going to be testing 38.1. If that fails us, we're going to be returning to the 35s. It pumped very nicely after earnings, but earnings weren't that great. Just their guidance was very strong for 2026. That's why it pumped. That's the reason why it didn't really make that big of a move. So just keep that in mind. For other factors out there, we have Palantir, which is looking very bullish. This is favoring 120 plus. It is possible it goes higher with PPI, but then we'll see if you get a rejection thanks to tariffs or not. But for now, it remains more bullish. So just keep that in mind. It's going to likely be favoring the 120 area. For Rivian, we want to see if this can break past 12.65 to get to 12.76. If we lose 12.4, we could be dipping, so we're just consolidating, so it's not really doing a whole lot. For SoFi, we look a bit more decent. I would love to see this break past 15 to bounce. It's trying to rebound just a bit in the after hours, but we're still technically in a falling wedge. We need to break past 15.38 to really start pushing. Otherwise, we're still in this wedge, so give it some time. It's trying to push a bit, so we'll see if that ends up being the case. AMD is looking bullish as long as we're above 111. We're looking for an attempt for 113.26. So watch and see if that ends up being the case, especially as we have an inverse head and shoulders like double bottom. So we could be looking for an attempt for 113. We'll see if that ends up being the case or not, depending on the data. ARM is bearish for the short term. We're technically on a downtrend. Might rebound tomorrow morning to retest this upper trend line, which is where our wedge happens to be, but we're slowly downtrending to the low 150s, and we'll see if we get a breakout. There's no sign of a breakout yet. As of right now, we're just downtrending, so just keep that in mind. Coin is looking bullish. As long as we don't lose 279, we favor a push for 286. So it might go higher. We'll see if that continues. Amazon's looking a little bit more bearish. Might be revisiting 228, and we'll see if that holds. If not, we could dip to 225, so give it some time. Meta's looking more bullish for breaking and making higher highs and higher lows. 730 becomes a potential target as long as we don't lose 715. Microsoft, we're trying to hold 408. If that holds, we could try to rebound. If not, we could be dipping. And Google's going to be looking for 183 as the main support, so give this some time to develop. We'll be very, very patient. It's very, very flat. It needs to break, by the way, past 189 to really bounce. Otherwise, it's still a bit more bearish. GameStop could be dipping closer to about 25.5. Then we have a gap fill around 24. And AMC is looking bullish, looking for 3.55 for a small push. DJT is in the middle right now, just consolidating. Then we also have the VIX, which is in the middle. We'll see if we get some kind of balance or not. We're just kind of stuck right now, so give it some time to consolidate. It's indecisive until we see PPI and what happens with the tariffs, so we'll see. And then the 10-year looks bullish. So does the dollar. We're waiting for more announcements with inflation and stuff. So that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. The market's going to try to likely bounce tomorrow as the most likely technical move, but this depends on what PPI looks like, so keep that in mind. Although the charts favor upside, PPI could be another factor. And then we'll see, will Donald Trump finally announce the tariffs? Will tomorrow be the day? The reports are saying that yes, tomorrow is going to be it. The White House press secretary said that he's going to be doing it tomorrow. We'll see, guys. I know they keep delaying this over and over again. So hopefully we get the announcement done with, and then we can just move on with our lives. Let's see how things end up going. I thank you all so much for listening. Be very, very patient. And I'll see you guys tomorrow with another update before market open. Thank you for listening, and peace out.